Yeah, secondary.
Okay, we'll call the meeting in order for the July 10th, 2023 Planning Commission. Brett, will you call the order, please?
Earl Carpenter. Amanda Cope.
Here.
Josh Fletcher.
Present.
Tina King.
Present.
Jeff Barton here. Jerry McDermott.
Present.
Grant Moore.
Here.
Jeff Peters. Susan Ralston. Steve White.
Excuse me, they started the meeting. You watch on TV. The meeting.
Steve White. Nick Sutton. Russell Boudreau.
Present. And do we have quorum? I'd like to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's actually great to see public involvement. If you haven't already had a chance to sign in for the roll, please do so. It helps with the minutes and to know what we had here tonight. We've got the minutes before us from the June 12th meeting, and if there is a motion to approve those minutes, we will do so.
Make a motion we approve as presented.
There's a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Burrow, second. All those in favor of the June 12th, 2023 minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the minutes have passed. We do not have old business tonight, but we will go on and do our first order of business tonight. I ask that everybody just kind of bear with us since we have a big room and a couple of cases here so that we give respect to everybody who wants to be heard in each case. So the first case tonight.
Yes, show the arrival.
We do have Member White who's in attendance now. So the with that.
Right. Is anyone here for the Sheets family park?
Yeah.
All right, so you guys get to come in first. If pass that along. They need to be in the building or in the room. Yeah, I have no idea how to do that, Howard.
sheet part.
I'll start here in a minute.
Okay, thank you, Brett. If we would open up that case and proceed.
Okay.
Wait a minute, I need to say a couple more things. The way our meeting will operate tonight, just for a little clarification, is we will read a staff report for the cases that are before us. Upon reading those reports, the board can have questions for the city staff regarding the petition. When that is closed, we will then ask if there's somebody in the audience who wishes to speak on behalf of the petition, who's representing the petition. We will close that out. Then we will open it up to public comment. If there's anybody who wishes to speak for or against a particular application, they are welcome to do so. We'd ask that you try, since we have a lot of people tonight, we try to keep those comments brief. And if we're saying the same things, to be respectful of that. We will close that. We will have any other questions that come up, then we will call for a motion. If the particular case item calls for a finding of fact, we will do so first, and then we will call for the motion. So with that outline, Brad, if you can take the first case.
Okay, first item on the agenda this evening is the Sheets Family Park. Their application is for a rezone. The applicant is JPR on behalf of the YMCA of Steuben County. The location is in the 500 block of East Harcourt Road. Their current zoning is C1, small to medium, general commercial, and they are requesting IS institutional. Their current use is the lot is vacant. The hearing date is today's date. Legal notices appeared in the Herald Republican on June 30th. 31 property owners within 300 feet of the project were sent certificate of mailing on June 21st. Applicable code is Title 18 of the UDO and Indiana Code Zoning Ordinance 36-7-4-600 series, not located within the floodplain. In 1998, the Breeden YMCA was established in Steuben County near the intersection of Harcourt and William Street. Their mission is to strengthen the community by empowering young people, by improving the health and well-being of people of all ages, and inspiring action in and across communities. Over the course of 3 decades, the properties have exchanged hands from Charles Sheets to Breeden YMCA Inc. and settling with the YMCA of Steuben County. In March of 1998, Charles Sheets purchased a 4.12 acre lot towards the east end of the YMCA campus, later transferring ownership to the YMCA of Steuben County in 2022. This property was left zoned C1 in hopes of commercial development. The YMCA of Steuben County, in conjunction with Charles Sheets, had the vision of creating the Sheets Family Park, a development that include an inclusive playground, splash pad, pickleball courts, pavilion, public restroom, and community gathering space. This type of development is not permitted within C1 zoning district, and a determination was made for the parcel to be zoned IS to accommodate many of the key components included in this type of development. Applicable code provisions. You see here, this is the permitted uses within the institutional zoning. In contextual zoning, to the north, you'll have Project Help and Nolan Meadows. To the east, you have subdivisions such as the Fountains and Harrington Heights. To the south, R1 Residential, the Assembly of God, and the YMCA lot. And west, the YMCA commercial restaurants and businesses and Village Greens as soon as you immediately cross the railroad tracks to the west. Moving forward is just a couple site photographs over the site. The first is going to be a view of the lot looking northwest from William Street. The next will be on the east side of the lot looking directly west over the lot from William Street. Sorry. You'll see the lot here in red. My apologies, backing up with the arrow pointing to it. And next, this is the looking northwest over the lot from William Street, directly west looking towards the YMCA. Furthermore, the intersection of the Harcourt and William Street, and look directly south. Moving forward, as you'll just look as you enter the YMCA parking lot, all of us are probably familiar with the lot. Next, we move into the comprehensive plan that speaks to 3 different principles. Principle 1, manage community form and growth. Objective 1.5, strongly encourage redevelopment of underutilized lots. Principle 4, nurture environmental quality. Add a city park on the north side of town. And principle 5, promote economic growth and increase efforts to attract and retain businesses and residents. The future land map shows this area is institutional with medium density residential practically surrounding the property, besides some general commercial and high density west of the railroad tracks. You'll see that reflected. The star is where we're speaking of, and the railroad tracks and the commercial and the high density. To this date, we have received no public input. The result of the public notices being sent. And staff conclusion and recommendation. In conclusion, staff is supportive of the request. The development of this property is beneficial to the community by providing a much needed public amenity for families with young children to enjoy. Furthermore, the addition of a park on the north side of city limits improves the quality of life to the community and rapidly growing residential neighborhoods close by. It should be noted that a development plan for the splash pad will appear in front of this board in the near future. First, the developer will apply for a land use variance for an outdoor sports complex. We're projecting that no development standard variances are needed.
Thank you. Anyone on the board have a question for staff regarding the petition?
Why wouldn't this be Parks and Recreation?
Going for that is, for park and recreation, it would fit, but for institutional, the current Y is already zoned that. So we're mirroring that, and then also establishes some better setbacks for the parking lot and the building to be placed there and coincide with the current YMCA of Steuben County.
It's being considered part of the YMCA, is that correct?
What's that?
It's a separate lot.
Yeah.
But it's part of the Y facility, but they are choosing to keep it as a separate lot itself.
But it's zoned the same.
Yep.
Yeah, the same zoning.
Same zoning to mirror the neighboring.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none, I will close that portion. If you are here to speak on behalf of this petition, you are welcome to do so. We ask that you state your name and address so we can put it into the minutes.
Thank you. My name is Josh Barkley. I'm a landscape architect with Jones Peach Rufinski at 222 Pearl Street, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I am a member of the design and engineering team. I appreciate, on behalf of the design team, your consideration in moving this forward for rezoning. For this all-inclusive park, as you mentioned, which we foresee bringing a lot of amenities to help not just children and families, but folks of various abilities, physical and emotional. So we're excited to continue this forward, and we'll take any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I'll say pickleball is big. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, bro.
With all of this planning and the development, are you going to work with the Park Commission here in Angola?
So the project is currently working with the city of Angola and the Parks Department.
Point is that I'm talking about, eventually, they're talking about the city park, if they're going to turn that over to us to take care of. If our park president can have any input, or is he going to have any input on development as this progresses?
Yeah,
You want me to speak to that
yeah,
at
if you
all?
wouldn't mind, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Funkhauser, the CEO of the YMCA of Steuben County. We have worked very closely on all aspects of this park with Matt Hanna, as well as some other of park board members, as well as a lot of the city council and the county council, and we're very excited for that collaboration. We see this as a community park, and that's one reason we're very excited for that collaboration with the Angola Parks Department, because we share that vision that this will be a community park open to everybody, very strongly with the mission that you guys share, that no fees are going to be occurred with that as far as user fees. So this will be open to everybody. You will not need a YMCA membership. But Matt has gone above and beyond, as well as other city staffers such as Amanda and Jennifer, just being very collaborative with us and making sure that this moves forward for our community. But thank you. Thank you for your question, though. We are very excited for the collaboration.
Okay. Everything that you said, I understand. We've been down that road.
Sure.
And like I say, I've questioned our ability with our park board and how we may handle that, because right now, there's not any decision, a lot of stuff's up in the air, but down the road, if park has to take care of it, the extra work that has to go into this, and who all they have to work with. That's my question, so.
Sure.
I have no problem with this, and Mr. Sheets, and this was all donated. I grew up with that man, so I know. So, but I'm not against this, believe me, I'm not. If we can add parks to Angola, that's great.
Well, thank you for that support. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the presenters? Okay, hearing none, we will close that portion.
Did you have, sir?
Sorry, well, we haven't opened up the public yet.
Sorry.
Anybody? One question, okay. At this time, we will open up the discussion to public comment. If you can, just state your name and address and any comments you'd like to make for or against the project, you're welcome to do so.
Well, commission members, I'm Joe Freimeyer, 1488 Henning Street in Angola. I served on the commission for approximately 20 years and served on city council. And most of the concerns which I have about this issue are not topics that the plan commission can make decisions on, like parking and insurance and lighting and so on like that. But I did come to the meeting just to let you know that people of the neighborhood have discussed this a little bit. And there are mixed views. And I'm sure that if and when this is approved, there will be some discussion by residents of that neighborhood at the council making recommendations for or against final approval. So that's about all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, that excellent point that we are discussing the zoning of the property tonight, and all those development items, lighting, drainage, all that comes at a later date, to be discussed just in those orders. So appreciate that. Is there any other comment from the public? Okay, hearing none, we will close that portion. Unless anyone else has any final comment on this, we would take a motion. This is a recommendation motion, and I don't believe there are any caveats to this particular item, correct? No.
I move that we approve the motion as presented.
Okay, there is a motion to approve a positive recommendation to city council for this motion. Is there a second? King makes a second. All those in favor of the motion as it has been placed before us, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that motion is passed. Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
for your time and for all the hard work on this.
We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for your support.
We will move forward on our second topic tonight, the villas at Glendarren. Brett, would you the case before, and then you can ask those individuals to come in.
Anyone here for the villas of Angola? Yes, no? Okay. You go ahead, Brent.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda is the villas of Glendarren Hills. The applicant type is the primary and secondary plat with rezone. The applicant is A&D Specs. The owner is Glenn Kelly. The location is Glendarren Way and our ETJ. Current zoning is Parks and Rec, and the proposed zoning is R4, multiple family residential district. The current use is golf course. Proposed use is dwelling, two-family duplex. Hearing date is today's date. Legal notice appeared in the Herald Republican on June 30th. 30 property owners within 300 feet of the project were sent certificate of mailing on June 27th. Applicable code is Title 18 of the UDO. Indiana Code Zoning Ordinance 36-7-4 series and 700 series to encompass the subdivision control, not located within a floodplain. The Villas of Glendarren Hills is a 9-lot subdivision to be divided from a 92.71 acre parcel currently being used by Glendarren Hills Golf Club. 9 lots are located along the west side of Glendarren Way, private street connecting to County Road 200 North. The stretch of the lots will span approximately a quarter-mile north and consuming vacant land built up of vegetation and consisting of 2 accessory buildings being utilized as maintenance facilities by the golf course. With construction set to begin soon on the new Glendarren Storage Building northwest of the clubhouse, these 2 accessory buildings will be raised. Current zoning is a PR, Parks and Recreation, which supports the use of a golf course. The petitioner requests the 9 lots, a total of 4.615 acres, to be rezoned to R4 multiple family residential to accommodate residential permitted use of a dwelling, 2-family duplex. Each lot will connect to city utilities at Glendarren Way and have an in and egress easement along Glendarren Way. The site plan, excuse me, the standard residential subdivision, a standard residential subdivision will include 4.615 acres along Glendarren Way, the private road. Lot 1 is the smallest lot at 0.479 acres, and the remaining lots 2 through 9 are all at 0.517 acres. All lots provide adequate setbacks for electrical, drainage, and utility easements. The petitioner has proposed to build 9 duplexes, which would provide 18 housing units to meet all standards within the ordinances. All proposed lots will be accessed via Glendarren Way and established cul-de-sac at the northern end of the subdivision. Applicable code, or zoning code provisions, you'll see there underneath B, residential permitted uses is a dwelling, 2-family duplex. Contextual zoning. As you look at the map, the section is outlined here in white. To the north, you have the Glendarren Hills Golf Club with vacant agricultural zoning. To the east, the low-density residential and the Fairview Missionary Church. To the south, low-density residential and vacant ag zoning. To the west is Glendarren Hills Golf Course or Golf Club, low to medium density residential and large commercial stores further west. Next, we move into some site photos. This is the entrance to Glendarren Way, looking northwest over the proposed subdivision. X is pretty much the same, just further a little bit into entry, looking northwest over the lots. X is a view northwest over the lots with current maintenance facilities on Glendarren Way. And lastly is a view looking southwest from the cul-de-sac along Glendarren Way. Comprehensive plan, principle 1, speaks to objective 1.2, utilize the land classification plan and maps as a foundation for zoning decisions. Strongly encourage underutilized lots. Objective 1.5, objective 1.10, encourage a broader range of housing types. And objective 1.16A, promote housing growth to attract and support the regional workforce and creative class population. Again, here you'll see the map. The star reflects of where we're talking about. It shows park and recreation with medium density residential surrounding the area. The Steuben County Housing Study was completed in 2020. The study reports potentially over 2,000 households of all income levels have the potential to move into Steuben County each year. 31% are younger singles or couples, 24% are empty nesters or retirees, with 36% housing preferences of rental units. The annual absorption rate for Angola alone is 26 to 33 rental units each year and 88 to 110 units countywide. To this date, we have not received any written communication to reference the legal notices, and staff conclusion is we are supportive of the request. The development of these properties is a simple and cost-effective way to increase density and allows more housing options within existing developed areas. Redeveloping underutilized lots to promote housing growth is desired per Steuben County's housing study. In addition, a dwelling 2-family duplex supports quality residential development in Steuben County.
Thank you. I would add that as we look at this tonight, and obviously it's a 2-part motion here. We have the land and the zoning, and then we have the actual plat design. So when we get to the actual motion part, we will need to separate those motions. Would that not be correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anyone else on the board who has a question for the staff as this is presented? Okay, hearing none, I will open the meeting up to an applicant who may wish to speak on behalf of this issue. You're welcome to do so. Please state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name's Don Wise Jr. My business partner, Aaron Sturry. Our address is P.O. Box 682, Angola. And we own A&D Specs, custom homes. We're looking to build some villas, Glen Darren, with Glenn Kelly. Had a lot of interest, in the villas. A lot of them are golfers. But we've had, younger people, older people. It's not just for older people. So, other areas that we've, built villas, Harrington Heights, Buck Lake Villas. There's along with North Point Villas and North Crest. They've all done well. People like them. So that's pretty much, much it. So if, I'd like to thank you for your time and consideration. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Don. Anyone have questions for the petitioner? Earl?
One question, why at the end of this development would you put a cul-de-sac there? Why can't you exit at the north end and come back out on Glendaria?
Well, I believe that was originally put in for a school bus. So, so your question is why that was put in? That was, I believe, Dean Kelly wanted that in there in case school buses need to turn around instead of going all the way up to actual clubhouse and being in the, parking lot of the clubhouse.
You got one way in and one way out.
Yep. Yes. That, there's other subdivisions like, the one right there across from the YMCA, Nolan Meadows, that was all, there's a lot of cul-de-sacs in there and one way in, one way out. I haven't heard any problems.
Well, that's my question.
Okay.
Because I see a lot of dead end streets that we're supposed to go through that never connected in places here in town. Anyway, that's my question.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other question for the petitioner?
Will you be putting sidewalks in with your duplexes?
Yes,
Connecting into the sidewalk on Wendell Jacob?
correct. 5 foot or even.
And with that, I guess with that, obviously it's residential in nature now. It probably would have some speed issues that it probably doesn't have currently. But would that be part of the city ordinance for?
So this is a private road and it's actually outside of city limits. So the road is private. All utilities will be private.
Okay.
The duplexes also won't have city services because it's outside city limits.
Even they can decide it. If it's too much. So, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Don.
All right, thank you.
If there's no other questions at this time, we will open up the meeting for public comment. If you wish to speak for or against this petition, you're welcome to do so. Again, please speak your name and your address for our minutes. Okay, hearing or seeing none, I will close that portion. I think it's an excellent idea and it's again, needed housing in the community and it's the needed size and no real additional infrastructure to have it. So that's my opinion, but we will actually, I would like to see us take a motion first for the zoning. And then we'd have a finding of fact, would we not, Brett, for the actual development? Yes, so let's do that if we can, please.
Or you want to, I'm sorry, you want to do the zoning? first?
Yes. Yeah. You know, it's second on the page.
Altogether. There's no findings.
There's no findings for the zoning, no.
Okay.
And then we go.
I'll make a motion, we give it a favorable approval of the zoning.
So there's a zoning motion for favorable approval. Is there a second?
A second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion as stated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the zoning motion passed. Brett, will you read our findings of fact regarding the development?
Yes.
Number one, the subdivision of land is consistent with the Angola Comprehensive Plan. Staff proposes to find that the villas of Glendarin Hills is consistent with the Angola Comprehensive Plan, future land use map, and objectives 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 1.10, and 1.16A.
Excuse me for a second. I can't hear out here. I mean, I don't know what's going on.
Are you here for the Glendarin matter? Okay, well then I invite you then if you can come in just for standing. Just as I apologize, we went out to see if there are people out there that wanted to come in, so. Yes.
They call the Glen.
Thanks. Yeah, the motion before us right now is for the villas of Glendarin, and we have just passed a motion on the zoning change for the development.
Is there a way we can oppose that? We're the only across the way it's gonna bring down the
Sir, which property do you own and what case are you here for? Primco?
Coleman?
Holman?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
you're
here.
here for Primco. This is,
No, he's not. He's here for the Glen. He's the owner.
okay, so you are out there.
Yeah,
So
we're
go
out there, correct.
If you you can open it up and allow him to speak if you wish.
Well, we've had a motion.
I will.
Okay, we will do that. We will, let's open it up for a public hearing. If you'd like to speak, sir, we would welcome your comments for record. You're welcome to do so.
Well, I'm the owner of the property. This is my son. He'll eventually get it. When I die, probably won't be too much longer, or the Lord will come back and I'll be ready to go anyhow. Won't make any difference. But, I sold some of my property to Glendarin's golf course, with restrictions. And, they told me what they were gonna do with the property. Especially the one that enters my area of my housing back there. And I was told that the most prestigious homes are gonna be built on that entrance. Well, I don't consider duplexes prestigious homes. When I sold my property to them, I didn't sell it all to them, I just sold them a corner of it. They put restrictions on me. And I agreed to those restrictions because I didn't want different type of housing in there. I realize they can do whatever they want on their side, but I was told by Mr. Kelly, and not Glenn, but from Dean Kelly, that again, the most prestigious homes are going to go down that road. Now we're talking duplexes. I'm sorry, I just don't think that's right. And if they want to take all the restrictions that I agreed to on my property off, maybe we can talk.
Thank you. We all have a photo for that. Would anybody like that's in the audience care to rebuttal any of that or leave that to the board? You're welcome to do so. Okay, hearing none, I will close that. I will personally say that those homes out there are very, very nice homes and the work out there has been done wonderfully. I don't know about your personal relation with the Kellys but I see the farm down there and I've been out there when cattle have come out and it looks like there's been gracious efforts to move things back and to work together. I would perceive them to be a good neighbor in that steward. Again, this is your home and area. I just see those as my observations. So I would suggest that we would do the zoning motion one more time, just to make sure no one has changed any of their opinion on that. And then we go from there. So if you had stated that motion and would like to do so again, I think we should do that.
I'll make a motion to move forward with a favorable recommendation.
Second. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that motion has passed. Brett, will you read the findings now, please?
Number 2, the subdivision of land okay. Starting with 1, the subdivision of land is consistent with the Angola Comprehensive Plan. The Village of Glendale Hills is consistent with the Angola Comprehensive Plan, future land use map and objectives 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 1.10, and 1.16A. Number 2, the subdivision of land satisfies the development requirements of Division 4 of this title, subdivisions.
Well,
Staff proposes the finding that no foreseeable variances, once all plan review and comments and conditions of approval are adequately addressed.
agreed.
Number 3, the subdivision of land satisfies the standard Division 5 of this title, design standards, will or will not.
Well.
Staff proposes the finding that once all plan review comments and conditions of approval are adequately addressed, the subdivision does not propose any internal streets or sidewalks at this time.
Agreed.
Number 4, the subdivision of land satisfies any other applicable provisions of this title, will or will not.
Well.
Staff proposes the finding that the property will be developed in a manner consistent to complement the surrounding character once all plan review, comments, and conditions of approval are adequately addressed.
Agreed.
Number 5, the subdivision of land satisfies the construction requirements of the City of Angola's construction standards, will or will not.
Well.
Staff proposes the finding that the Village of Glendale Hills is honoring easements and setbacks to those easements that serve the area, but any further construction will satisfy the construction requirements of the City of Angola.
Agreed.
You now entertain a motion on the development of this application.
I'll move to approve the application as presented.
There is a motion to approve application as presented. Is there a second? Steve is second. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion has passed. Thank you for your time and thank you for the process. Appreciate it. Yes. Okay, we will go on to our third case of the night. Again, I assume most of you in the room are here for this, and again, that is great. Love to see that. When we get to the portion of opening the public portion, we've just asked to be respectful of everybody's time and to be as succinct as we can, but certainly allowing you to express your opinions. As Jennifer will explain, this tonight is for the plat. And she will explain the difference between the plat and the development, I should say, and the plat that was discussed in the prior meeting, which really didn't get that well play in the newspapers. A little difficult to judge what we did last meeting based on that article. That was very disappointing. But I think if we explain here tonight the system and what is going on, maybe we all can get on the same page. So Jennifer, if you would take our case, please.
Sure, this project is the Speedway Professional Park subdivision. It's a primary plat. The applicant and owner is Primco Smith Road LLC. The location is the 3400 block on State Route 127. It is in the ETJ, which is the extraterritorial jurisdiction. I've been asked to explain that a bit. Cities in Indiana are allowed to expand their planning jurisdiction past their municipal boundaries, and that is what this city has done here. How that gets represented is, I believe, Stephen, Susan, you guys are both representatives from the ETJ, which means they are not city residents. They're appointed by various boards at the county level, as well as Austin is a non-voting member of this board, but he serves on the county planning commission as well. The property is zoned agriculture. Tonight is the hearing date, July 10th. Legal notices appeared in the Herald on June 30th. 9 property owners which were within 300 feet of the property received certificate of mailings that were sent on June 23rd. Title 18 of the Angola Municipal Code, as well as Indiana Code Subdivision 36-7-4-700 and 1015 series apply here. This property is not located in a floodplain. The petitioner's property is located on State Route 127, has been utilized for construction staging and stockpiling of concrete material since late 2006. Planning for the future, the company intends to relocate their batch plant, which is Speedway Ready Mix, to this location from the neighboring property to the east, which is accessed off of 300. It's approximately a quarter mile away from the property line, where it has been housed and operational for many years. The batch plants are used to supply paving materials such as asphalt and cement concrete pavement. The petitioner has owned this property, which is 40.9 acres of land since 2016, and now wishes to subdivide or plat, same terminology that's intermixed, the property into 2 lots, and it's in conjunction with the rezoning of each lot that was presented to this board on June 12th. The favorable recommendation to rezone has been forwarded to City Council with the condition that a commitment be recorded restricting the use of a concrete batch plant only in the high impact zone, which is Lot 2. The Angola City Council will be presented with that ordinance to amend the zoning map on July 17th, which is a week from today, and that is a first reading. Currently, the City of Angola is in the advanced stages of negotiating and planning on running city utilities along State Route 127 to Kagan State Park, opening the possibility for growth north of city limits. The petitioner wants to split the property into 2 lots. Lot 1 is shown in red, and it's fronting 127 to promote commercial development, such as goods and services to a regional population. The rezoning again is C2, which is medium to large commercial district, and accommodates all the permitted uses. So Lot 2 will encompass the remaining acreage, which is shown in yellow here. And that is the high impact zoning districts, and will follow those development standards, but again, have that restriction of a concrete batch plant only. For the site plan, the proposed plat of Lot 1 is 4.632 acres along 127 and includes a 40-foot access easement, which is shown in green, along the existing drive lane to the remainder of the property. On the north side of that drive is a standing pond or wetland, which would likely not be developable. On the south side of that drive, it is feasible to have commercial buildings and associated parking. Lot 2 holds the remaining 36.515 acres, providing ample space to maintain a 200 building setback, which is required of the high impact. Contextual zoning of the area. As we said, the property, can you go down, Brett? Is zoned agriculture. Right to the east, we have the current location of Heidelberg, which is zoned high impact. To the south is C2, which has recently been rezoned. And we're expecting development plan approval for that as well, application for that in the near future. To the north is agriculture. And then across 127 is various C1 commercial. Here's some site photos when we went onto the site. This is just at the gate. You can kind of see the gate in the foreground looking over the property. The second photo is this would be approximately, so looking like northwest a little bit, but this would be the property that's zoned C2. The next photo is looking southwest again over that property that's zoned C2. Then basically turning around from where that picture was, looking the other way, that is the property, so looking east. This is the property that would be zoned high impact. You see that drop off, that is where that pond is located on the site. The next photo, we're standing next to that pond, looking further east. And then this is a little bit further, so still looking east. The pond is to the, I guess, the right of that photo. Comprehensive plan speaks to this. So principle 1, managing community growth and form. Objective 1.5, strongly encourage redevelopment of underutilized, vacant, or abandoned lots. Principle 5 promotes economic vibrancy. So objective 5.3 ensures shovel-ready sites are available for business and industrial growth. Objective 5.7, increase efforts to attract and retain business and residents. Public input, staff has received numerous public input as a result of legal notices. We compiled all of those into the online folder. We will enter all the letters into the minutes as a matter of public record. So to be clear, next steps, as previously stated, the Angola Plan Commission at its June 12th meeting made a favorable recommendation to rezone both Lot 1, C2, and Lot 2, high impact. That's going to be forwarded to City Council with the condition that Lot 2 be restricted to use a concrete batch plant only as long as it's zoned high impact. Angola City Council will be presented with the ordinance, that's the first reading, to amend the zoning map on July 17th. If council approves that rezoning, this plat would then be recorded. Once the plat is recorded, then a development plan application would be submitted. That would come before this board, the Angola Plan Commission, to ensure all development standards are met. The development plan includes the use, setbacks, buffering, landscaping, lighting, and more. With this property being located in the ETJ, all drainage would be handled by the Steuben County surveyor. Additionally, the entrance drive will be sent to NDOT for approval as State Route 127 is a state highway. In conclusion, the development of this property would create a more connected, dense commercial area to the north. The property is large enough to meet all the development standards for both zoning districts and land use. The commercial outlot will take advantage of potential expansion of utilities and improve visual corridor. Additionally, the commercial lot will provide ample buffer to the high impact. The use of the lot will also be consistent with the permitted uses on adjoining properties. Staff does recommend 2 conditions of approval. That prior to the signature of this primary plat, the Angola Common Council grant approval to rezone Lot 1 to C2 and rezone Lot 2 to high impact. If the Angola Common Council does not grant rezone of Lot 2, then the plat be modified to reflect the agricultural zoning, and that all routing comments are adequately addressed, which is determined by staff. Does the board have any questions for me?
I think you said that very well, Jennifer. That is alluding to what we had talked about last month. And we have a situation with a lot here that has been changed for zoning that has a restriction. But if and when more information comes before the council, whatever that information may be, and they feel differently at those meetings, and they vote not to accept that zoning, then just what Jennifer would say, then the plat would probably not be acceptable for an agricultural zoning, so therefore it wouldn't be an actual recordable plat at that point. So we in this committee have to run that in that order. We can't go back and say, okay, now let's look at the zoning again. Maybe we know some new stuff or not, but that is why this is an advisory board to the city council for that particular issue. Now, when we're talking design, we're talking plat, then it's a final say here. But the actual land use is just a recommendation, which was actually made in the prior meeting. And again, I don't really think things quite got stated that way, and it's unfortunate. And we'll certainly hear what anyone has to say, but I just important that people understand that situation. So, does anybody have any questions for Jennifer?
All right, with that, I
Why
do,
did we pick impact for this one? As I understand it, there's no mining that's going to be done from this.
Right, that had in the minutes, there was strictly said no mining, and it strictly said no pay, it said nothing, it said concrete only.
So that was just different than gathering together the ingredients for donuts and selling them. This, he's just selling concrete, he's not, doesn't have any intention whatsoever of mining on this.
Not under this.
correct, the restriction that this board placed on them at the rezoning was a concrete batch plant.
I do understand that, and I know I voted for it, so I should ask these questions a long time ago.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't see to make more sense for all this ground rather than high impact, because he doesn't tend to do mining. And that's what high impact is for. It's for the mining.
And if Steve, if the city council comes to that idea, then we can't go back and say any of that now. But if the city council seems that, or they get additional information that we may not have had at that meeting, whatever that might be, then they can take that all into account and make that rule.
So to be clear, how we arrived at high impact. We have to allow all uses within our jurisdiction. Indiana code does not allow us to say, you know what, a batch plant isn't allowed within jurisdiction. So we have to find an appropriate place for it. And there is no way to identify every single use that is out there. So what the code does allow is the zoning administrator, myself, to make determination on where is best appropriate if we don't specifically define that. If we don't define that, we use Webster's dictionary. The code says you follow Webster's dictionary. So batch plants are supplying paving materials such as asphalt or concrete pavement. And they are asking that restriction, or you guys put that condition on for a concrete batch plant only. When looking at similar uses, the fact that the adjacent use is a concrete batch plant next door, zoned high impact, staff determined that high impact was the appropriate zoning district. It also is our highest or largest buffers, landscaping requirements, setbacks. So we thought that was the most appropriate. If that helps answer your question.
I got a question. Last meeting we had, when we emphasized this egress from the concrete plant way back behind and the asphalt plant was only to be a road accessing out to 127. That was the restrictions which we approved on. Now you go back to this high density deal and you've got included, you haven't talked about the asphalt. Now, the asphalt plant has been sold, the latest thing I found out. That doesn't mean And later they'll come back here and want to put an asphalt plant out there. And I can tell you right now, I do not agree with any asphalt plant coming along the highway out there because of the odors and the stink, along with other businesses that have to put up with that.
I'm sorry, could you guys hold comments? I'm trying to listen to them.
Okay, I can go further. I experienced this asphalt stuff down at Waterloo when the asphalt plant was built. There on Route 6 and all hot asphalt. The stink that come up from that, the people did not realize when that was zoned for that plant, what they were gonna put up with during whatever the weather conditions were. Later, they wanted to extend on back to the railroad. That, when it come up, all the people down there was dead set against it and it never passed so they could expand out. What I'm saying up here, there is nothing with this high density, if this is approved, if the seller can't sell that property or sell it to somebody else and they change all that.
I would disagree with that,
They
Earl.
can't change that.
I think you're talking about two different things. The current property that's on 300, access from 300, that one?
I'm talking about the addition from where the concrete plant made the addition, going clear back to 300. You've got an area in there that's a lung. They can do anything they want. If that's changed to high density, high impact, they can sell this property to somebody else that comes back in with what would have been agreed, and we gotta fight this all over.
Okay, so let me explain what happens with this recorded commitment. So on this plat, it says on there, Brett, if you want to bring it up, it says this lot 2 is restricted to the single use of a concrete batch plant. That is on the plat. So say they sell it or the current owner says, I would like to change that. So the process is twofold. The first, they would have to amend this plat. That's why we're recording it on the plat itself, which comes back to this board. Secondly, this is a condition of a rezone, which means amendment of a rezone would have to go to city council. So you're talking about two boards that would have to lift that restriction. Does that help answer your question?
That helps.
I agree with you, Burl. You've got a populated corridor there and nobody wants that smell up there. And I think everybody in this room would agree with that, but we have to understand that that's how it has to be recorded, given the last meeting that we've done. If people don't think that's powerful enough to keep it away, then maybe the city council will take it away altogether. If they think if they need to be even stronger, they absolutely have that right. But we can't do anything about that tonight.
I understand. Other
Okay.
council can overrule what we
Yep.
recommend, but I can tell you this. I am dead set against that zoning of H5. If it has to go back to agriculture, then that's so be it. But that's my opinion.
And then if they just so decide that based on more information than they get than we had at the time, I'm all for that. Absolutely all for that.
So are there any questions regarding this request tonight,
Yeah,
which is the
the
plat?
request is the plat.
Any other questions?
Can I say a comment?
Sure.
When I left the last meeting, we had a question and it was answered and a compromise was struck. And I thought, okay, that's why we went with a restriction on the concrete only. And again, it will have to go back through the whole process again if a future owner would wish to choose to do so. So in the interim, there's been a little correspondence going on, and I appreciate hearing everybody's correspondence. And I've driven it, and I understand everyone's concerns. And I still have those concerns. So know that this board is all volunteer. They volunteer their services. I'm a part of the city council. That is where the decision itself will be made. Okay. And we're kind of bound by statute as to what we can and can't do in this body.
Yeah, but no, we have absolutely the same concerns. We've heard absolutely the same stories, hearsay or not. You have to be careful how you say things. You do not make accusations of things you don't understand or know. But all of that becomes and then works its way out. And again, that's why this process is set up to be a recommendation board to these folks here. And so, thank you, John. I appreciate that. It is a volunteer board, so and boy, it's fun. Bless your heart. It's just good. It's just a good time. So,
Are there any other questions for me?
I'm
sorry.
we're voting on the actual plat.
So Brett, if you could go or zoom out with that. Yeah. So we are voting on the plat, lot 1 and lot 2 of the original acres of the entire lot. So lot 1 would be that commercial C2 lot with that 40-foot access easement to lot 2. Lot 2 is the high impact, and if you go down, you'll see the restriction on lot 2. So that is what this board is approving tonight. Does this plat meet all the questions that you find on our findings of fact? So question 1 through 5. All right.
Any other questions for Jennifer before we see if there's a petitioner who would like to speak on behalf of this? No?
I don't think Wayne, who originally represented the case today, come on up.
And please, again, your name and address for our records. Thanks.
My name is Matt Birch. I'm with Birch Frank and Associates. We're located at 811 Lawrence Drive, Fort Wayne. I'm here with Todd Frederick. He's the owner of the property. And the proposal before you tonight is for the subdivision plat, but hopefully we can bring a little bit of clarity as to the intent. Trimco is affiliated with Speedway Concrete, and they own the facility or lease the facility within Hanson Concrete. And the whole purpose of this subdivision plat is if they lose their lease within the Hanson Concrete plant, that they could move it over to this lot. So at the moment, there's no imminent plans to construct a concrete plant. There's definitely no plans for an asphalt plant, which I know is what everyone's been talking about tonight. This is just for the concrete plant. If they're no longer allowed to have the lease within the Hanson aggregate, then they would look to develop a facility within lot number 2 for the concrete plant. So lot number 1 will be zoned C2, the commercial like we talked, and lot number 2 would be the high impact for the concrete plant. Does that make sense? That answers some of the questions.
How long have you had that concrete plant there at Hanson and operating that?
Bought it in 21, and it was there, I think 5 or 6 years before that.
So that's Todd Frederick that said that.
Can you come in?
5 or 6 years. Yeah.
Hi. Todd Frederick.
It was, it's been there
I think
30 years, been operating right there in that same area.
And the other property that's in question, lot 1 and lot 2, has been doing this since the late 90s as well. The staging for job sites for state highways, communities, cities, counties.
You mentioned that you might lose your lease. Why?
Yeah, what could predicate losing? Just a couple of ideas of what could predicate you losing the lease.
So Heidelberg, which is the stone quarry that actually runs it, that has the lease with the family that owns it, the trust that has it. There's some funny language in there, and there is sand and gravel underneath where our plant is. There used to be an asphalt plant that sat right in front of us. They took the asphalt plant out, let's say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and they ate that gravel away, and they're starting to get down on their aggregates. We could see that we could be pushed out by the big companies. So we have no intentions. Matt does a lot of survey work for us, and he called me up and said he was doing some work adjacent property, wanted to know if he could get on the property, do some surveying, was going to go in for some other work. And I'm like, hey, maybe we should just go ahead and get it done now while you're up there doing the work. So that's all started. There is no plans, no anything to do anything there right now. We mow the weeds and maintain it.
Well, if you couldn't mine up there, then what, and you lost all your aggregate down there, where would you go from there?
Like everybody else trucking in. I mean, our competition is right here off the circle and they truck in all their aggregates. We truck in probably 85% of our aggregates to that location.
Are you going to move the concrete batch plant?
We have no intentions of, because we can't really afford to move it unless we get forced to. And that's a building, it's 2 buildings, supply yards, stockpiles. It's a big expense to move it. We really don't want to.
Is the current location still viable for operation?
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's a good plant. We've invested a lot of dollars in it over the years, so it's good. We did build it, when we rebuilt it in 2006, I think, we made it so it was modular at that time if we had to move it, just because of the way the lease was wrote. We inherited the lease from Mike Klink, was the original owner of that plant.
Is it currently in good standing with all regulatory agencies?
We have 10 plants like that in the surrounding areas working every day.
That are in compliance with.
All in compliance, no issues.
Yes, I have a follow-up. Are you leaving the current location at good standing with the current property owners?
We're not planning on leaving. Yeah, we'll have to do whatever is in the lease and clean up the mess and do all the stuff that's required for sure.
I know that's been one of the complaints is in terms of the environmental aspects as to what's been left and what needs to be done moving forward.
Have to meet all the federal and state regulations on all that part of it, on top of your guys's and everybody else's. It was not the intent to get everybody wound up. I just saw the Facebook ad. My controller gave it to me right before I came up here, and I mean, talking about spreading asphalt and pollutions to, the sandbar, James, and I've been on the lakes for 46 years now, or 45 years, and there was no intentions of doing anything. We love the lakes. We spent half the year up here.
One other question that I know has been raised is traffic. You're going to probably have to, I take it the drive that we see is where they will enter and exit.
That's correct, and that would be done, NDOT, Indiana Department of Transportation, would have to tell us what would be required to be put there. It's actually better sight distance at that location than 300. 300's always scared me. I've thought about the ice cream store across the street, and that's the last telephone call I ever wanted, the mixer.
And the hill.
Hit a car and that visibility come over that hill. At least now we got some flashing lights, but it's actually better down in the hole where you can see both directions a little bit farther. But NDOT would make us follow all the guidelines for that.
Anyone else with a question for the petitioner? Hearing none, I will close that portion. Thank you.
Thanks.
The correspondence received has been entered into the minutes, so we will put that there. We will open the meeting to public comment if you wish to speak for or against this petition. Again, we ask that you remember that we are talking about the plat and that that we be representative of everybody's time and try to be fair. We'll do the best here we can. So you're welcome to do so. Again, you state your name and your address.
Excellent. My name is Don Talkington, and I live at 105 East, 400 North, over on 400 Angola. Hey, Doc. How you doing? First and foremost, thank you very much for allowing us to stand up here and talk to you. And I'll be very cognizant of your time. My time's pretty important too. And I know there's several others that want to talk. The things we're looking at, and as well as we're talking about the splitting of the parcel, the big question is, why do you want to split the parcel? Well, recommendations already been made for a high impact on plot 2. Well, looking into that, had it been publicized or had people known more that y'all's June 12th meeting was to do that, you need a bigger building, because this place would have been packed for people to discuss this. I didn't know it. I would imagine several people didn't know it. You made your suggestion and your recommendation, and that I understand how that goes, and then it goes to the city planning or the committee, and that's fine. But on the City of Angola website, an Angola Municipal Code, Chapter 18.112. It goes into high impact districts. In a high impact district, when you zone something high impact, or you vote for it, or you recommend it, or you put it in, the development of it is to minimize, make sure you minimize light, noise, water, and air pollution, cover all that. Item D is appropriate adjacent districts. They have to be ag commercial, industry 1 and 2, or high impact. There's no residential, can't be anything like that around there. You got a house right next door. It's probably zoned ag. The big thing that got me, guys, is item E on your municipal code. It says the planning commission to zone the property high impact. You can do that only after determining the site is appropriate for any of the possible uses of a high impact. Now, for those of you that don't know, what high impact actually can have is they can have, and this is listed on your site too, wind turbines, a demolition landfill, gravel and sand mining, which is what we're talking about, a large incinerator, a junkyard, metal shredding. Here's the biggie, guys. Not saying that these gentlemen would do this, but they're not going to live forever. They could sell it. And even though we have a limitation on the contract, you could have a rendering plant put into Angola if it's under a high impact. You could have a landfill, a metal yard. You could have a sewage treatment plant put in there. These are the things, a jail, a juvenile facility. I'd rather have that than a rendering plant. Have you ever been to a rendering town? It is nasty. I'm talking nasty. So what I'm getting at is these are your stipulations that you have to take care of and look into. And I'd like to see the environmental impact of a rendering plant that y'all have uncovered, what that would do to the city. Because it says here, you got to know all that before you can zone this high impact. Now, getting back to the stipulation on the contract that was so well stated. I saw it on there, and that's a great thing. I know you're an attorney, everything's there. Once something is already zoned and it is set in high impact, even though you have a stipulation on the actual plat, on the high impact vote, to change and add to that is a lot simpler process than getting it entirely rezoned. So once you zone it high impact, once it is set in stone, even with a caveat, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you're the attorney, I am not an attorney, Lord help. But to amend and adapt a existing document is much easier than creating the entire document. And what you're doing right now is you're creating a new document and making changes. Thank you for your time. I appreciate everything you do. I know it's a volunteer, and bless your heart, like I said.
And we appreciate those comments, and those are the kind of comments that should probably go before the city council for those very reasons. Tonight, this board isn't dealing on those issues. So, but I appreciate it.
Thank y'all very much.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Mitchell, and my address is P.O. Box 708 in Angola. Again, thank you. I reiterate that for hearing our concerns this evening. I did have an opportunity to read the summary of the June 12th meeting my husband and I were at. And it did state about forwarding that on to the Plan Commission with a positive recommendation in light of some negotiations that we made. But after we had a discussion at the meeting, we did receive an email from Mr. Richardson, Mr. Frederick, representative. And there were a couple more uses, or whatever you want to say, stipulated that they would like to have included in that ability to use the land. So that kind of changes things. And it made us kind of take a step back and realize, as the gentleman who was here earlier stated, things can change when you think you're making restrictions in good faith. That for various reasons that we've already discussed, it might not always work the way you thought it was going to. For that reason, we no longer support the change of the zoning to H1. I guess I thought tonight maybe we're just talking about subdividing the plat, which I guess we would be against also just because it sets up the groundwork for these other changes that are made with the zoning and stuff. I know the city of Angola has taken on this responsibility of hearing requests for subdividing and rezoning outside the city limits. And with this authority comes some responsibility, which I know everyone's trying to do in their best faith efforts. But these recommendations need to be made to benefit the citizens and the long-range plans of the community. And I think this is an opportunity for this committee and our community to make a difference in the future of Angola and the citizens of Steuben County. I think we can do better. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you guys want to read that?
I think it would be.
I think you should share the email that she received from the attorney. I don't know if that.
We'll enter that as, we just need to know that we're entering that as Exhibit A.
I'll just go ahead. Tony Isep, I have a business on 3331 State Road 127, Scoops Ice Cream. Been around for 26 years. Thank you all for your support on that. I'm here today. I am a county councilman, but I do not represent, let me get that caveat out of the way. I do not represent the county council. I represent my voice. That said, ETJ, Jennifer did a great definition of what the ETJ is. But what I challenge you all moving forward as planners is that the ETJ is strategic planning and the future of Angola, not to be taken lightly. I'm not saying any of you do, but I will tell you that storage units and high impact zoning, which is against your strategic plan based on a lot of signatures that were there and some of that are on city council. Your strategic planning suggested that no more high impact out there was going to be allowed. Now the recommendation has been suggested and I know it's out of your hands. But my challenge is to each and every one of you, volunteer or not, you've decided to sit on a board that makes hardcore decisions for the future of our children's children. And that strategic growth with the main thoroughfare going out of our town, we have two main veins that go in and out. And that growth is very important for us to make calculated, good decisions. And industrial and high impact, I can't see it. Because at some point, you're going to annex. Angola is going to annex that territory. That's not going to be residential. You sat here and approved the recommendation for housing because it is dire straits in our community. That will not bring housing. It will not. 15, 20 people that work in it? Absolutely not. And furthermore, I just want to articulate that if Mr. Frederickson would like to buy the current location he wants to, that he's currently at, it is for sale for him. It has been told directly, firsthand, that he can buy it at market value. So his movement or worrisome of that is not necessary if he'd like to stay where he's currently at. So that opportunity is there for him. So all due respect to everybody, I don't mean anything. I know this is not easy, especially being a volunteer board, and I know pretty much each and every one of you, and I have nothing but respect for everybody. But it's a challenge, and the growth of our community is determinant on what decisions you make for the growth of this community. And landlocking yourself is very dangerous by putting that industrial there instead of residential or something to the nature of commercial. And that's all I have, and thank you.
My name is Judy Griffin. I have no land right next door to me. And I'm very, very against it. We've watched it. I lived there 50 years. My husband and I lived there 50 years. We watched the big tiles go in when they did the lake drainage. No big deal. My mother-in-law used to own that land. So we watched that. We had cows. The tile and things didn't bother us. And then they brought in the crunched cement. That was not such a big deal. But then they start bringing in the crushed asphalt. Piles and piles and piles of crushed asphalt. There's a pond back there. And my deed states that I have right of way to that pond. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I do. And as long as I own land that touches that, I have a right of way to that pond. Why would I want to go back there and go into lot 2 where the pond is? There's no geese anymore. There's no ducks. I dare to say there's no fish. If you look at an aerial view of that pond, it's black. Where do you get black from? Are you going to require an environmental test of the soil, the wetlands? There's wetlands there of the pond. I no longer have cows. We did have cows right next door to it. We sold them about 6 years ago. If I had cows, I would have been making a big stink because they drink out of that pond water. They're right next door to where the asphalt is. I do not want to see it changed any more than it has changed. We own 38 acres and we started selling some of it. We sold a little bit of it to the storage units. He's run into a lot of things. He had to have an environmental study. He had to have an illumination study. He had to have a traffic study. How did that acreage get allowed to go as far as it has with the asphalt pile there? With the concrete pile there, especially the asphalt piles. I mean, it doesn't stay there. When it storms and rains and blows, where's it going? We found out that we have a wetlands at the end of, at our property, at the south end of his pond, which the overflow has changed because something has filled in the pond. We no longer have a lane that goes back to our field. We don't have it. It's covered now. And we were told when the guy bought it, we now have a wetlands. We don't know when it happened. We don't know how it happened. I probably should have gotten more involved. You live there and you watch things and you just kind of live your life. I'm just an ordinary person. But when this came up, the first letter we got in June, high impact, I had to look it up. I didn't know what high density meant. I didn't have a clue. And it said traffic, high, big, basically trucks in my mind. Well, my thought is they're already doing it. Big trucks have already been coming in and out. 5:30 in the morning, big trucks go in and out. And the asphalt's not been there 5 or 6 years. Maybe 6, but not before that. It was crunched cement, but not the asphalt piles. So I just didn't come to that meeting. I was out of town. We got this letter. This letter still doesn't really give you a clue. It just wants 2 plats. I mean, you have to look at the paper and look at everything else to really figure out what's going on. I appreciate you all. I didn't realize this is a voluntary board, but thank you for doing that. Like I said, we've owned that land next door to it for 50 years. And it really has so far impacted us big time. Like I said, I can't even walk back my lane. I don't have one. Thank you.
I'm Diane Hanson, no relation to the aggregate company. Trust me, my dad was very upset when he saw that sign. I just want to influx a little information to the board in precaution. Being the fact that I live right next door to the existing concrete, used to be asphalt plant and gravel pit. It was originally a 40-acre parcel, which Mr. Klink bought, and he then purchased an additional 80 acres. That is the beacon picture. I do have encroachment on my west side of the property from the concrete material and parking material. Since the asphalt plant has gone, it's been a blessing. That plant was a hip skin plant. It was known in the asphalt industry as a junk plant. It was it was installed to be a temporary plant. It was moved out 4 years ago, and I believe the original time it went in was in the late 90s. So their justification of a temporary plant was questionable. There are other neighbors that are concerned. When that particular asphalt plant was running, there was fugitive dust caused by 2 sources, trucks going in and out, and IDEP requires that there be no dirt, sand, or airborne materials crossing the property. So if you go down 300 North, you'll occasionally see Mr. Fee has got sprinklers going, keep the dust down. Precaution. Let's not create another eyesore. When I was taking flying lessons, it was a continual thing. Everybody was flying over the gravel pit. And I occasionally see sightseeing flights over it. Let's not expand the gravel pit. My concern is regarding the back end of this property. And I do have respect for Troy Book that runs this plant. I've been a perfect neighbor. I feel I haven't complained. I've kept my road front. As the gentleman said, 300 North was pretty sketchy approaching from the east. You couldn't see. I went in there and I had the county push all that stuff back, especially when we had the ice storm. Be precautious. Let's not create a situation where on the back end of the property, they logged it out 6 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and they left us.
6 years.
Yeah, because I had mine logged out prior to that. There's like a 40 or 50 foot path on the backside of the property that now attaches to this piece of property right there. I don't want to see the gravel pit expand. Yes, I like nice, clean roads. I like roads. We do need asphalt road material, but I think there's probably a better location for it. As far as his process of moving it, good luck. The existing concrete plant, because it's pretty well embedded. I would like to have a discussion with him regarding the little bit of encroachment issue we have, but please be cautious. The fugitive dust is terrible. The stench from the asphalt plant is worse. There were so many times that you couldn't go outside because the stench was so bad when you got a northwest wind. So be cautious. I see one of your board members is a resident out there. It's a mess. Take a walk by down the lane. I just don't want to see another 40 acres be devoured to be a mess. Thank you.
My name's Brian Bowden. I live at 123 Duncastle Court. I'm here representing the Glendale Hills Community Homeowners Association. I'm president of that board. And again, I'm not going to bore you guys with the high impact everybody else has gotten. The information to you guys, the environmental health consequences due to dust and smell, they pretty well covered. The only 2 concerns that we still had for Primco and for the city would be wellhead protected area. On the maps, it's kind of vague on if it's close to or in a wellhead impacted area. If it is a wellhead impacted area or protected area, high impact zoning is not even permissible. And that's why I didn't know if you guys just stopped the platting at the moment, if it would even put brakes on to other things that were done in the past. Hindsight's 2020. Everybody knows that. And you guys even have brought up your own concerns over what was voted on and everything else. In addition, for the application from Primco, the one thing they stated is that they were not worried about the property values to the residents west and north of them, with no consideration to the residents to the east and south of them. There is discussion with our homeowners association and our developers of bringing Glendale and Hills all the way up to 300 North. It's already platted. It has, if you see in the GIS, the future expansion and growth. We have 70 homes in our community right now. Every lot is full. And now they're going to go to the 9-lot villa and possibly go all the way up through the golf course to 300 North in the future. I think with that being within a half mile of this area, it would greatly impact the value of our properties. So again, and same thing. I'm very sympathetic to you guys. I'm very appreciative of what you guys do. It's a tough thing to do. It's a tough thing to sit here and listen to all the complaints and everything else, but I'm not convinced that all the information was brought forth in the previous meetings. And we will be here to stand side by side with our community to do what's best for the community through the council meetings and zoning meetings, whatever we have to do. So that's all we had to say for us. And thank you guys for your time and thank you for what you do.
My name is Andrea Vanny. I live at 600 East, 280 North. My husband and I moved here last July to the ETJ. We purchased 12 and a half acres. I'm studying to be a nurse practitioner, and my husband is Dr. Travis Brown. I sent an email to some of the Common Council. This division of the land went against the comprehensive plan passed by Mayor Hickman in May 18th of 2022. I'm not going to bore with the rest of the email. I have copies of it. But like other people have expressed, I had concerns about sensitive populations with asthma and allergies. And after hearing Mr. Frederick speak, who is stopping potentially 2 batch plants if he decided he wanted to move his unit to 127. I've driven on 300 North now for a year and she departed, but the dust and debris that you see, but it's mainly during the work week. So the idea of my walk on Hoosier Hill, where I take my family, I enjoy scoops, it's concerning. We are looking at doing a home equity loan to expand our house. And I don't know if we would raise our 7, 4, and 2-year-old in a community that would allow the expansion of high impact industry. And from my research, there's no oversight with the stormwater management. I contacted the Steuben County Health Department because of the ETJ. Ken Shelton represents us, but we actually have no city official that represents us. I guess moving here, I want to protect my family and my home and my community, and I appreciate members of the ETJ allowing me to represent them and for your consideration. But please reconsider this. This is not something that people in the low density residential area of the community want. And if you want to come out and visit 300 North and see what it's like to live there, I have no complaints because it's during the week, but who's to say that their hours won't change if there's competitors on 300 North and 127? Thank you.
Anyone else?
I had one more comment. You referred to agenda and meeting minutes from the past. I attempted to find these meeting minutes and I had help to prepare a FOIA request. There's 16 dates of agenda and meeting minutes that I cannot find. I don't know if somebody can help me with that. And I have original copies also.
I'm sure we can get you. Yes.
Okay.
You leave your name and we'll make sure.
Sure.
Fred Persecuno, 700 East, 300 North. I'm against the rezoning, of course, but.
I'm sorry, can we get your name one more time, please?
Greg Persecuno.
Thank you.
Up until a few years ago, I lived within the shadow of an asphalt plant. I can tell you that everything that Diane Hanson told you is true. You cannot open your windows when that asphalt plant is running. The dust is always there. There's no way they can contain the smell, and there aren't any laws anywhere about smell. So there's no one you can contact in local government that will ever help you if you have any issues, because the health department doesn't have that kind of power. You have to go to the state EPA to get any kind of help, and hopefully they'll listen to you. I just want to say that the other thing that's never mentioned but exists is that these operations work in the summertime when there's long daylight hours. And in order for these guys to maximize their efficiency, they need to start at 3 o'clock in the morning at times and go till almost dark. So there's sometimes when they're going to be woken up with a chorus of backup alarms and things of that nature. So I just want to say that there are going to be a lot of impacts to whoever's within the vicinity of this asphalt plant, if you guys choose to let it happen. Thank you.
Just let this go, or it might be somebody else, but the letter that was sent, the email that was sent, that I believe y'all got a copy of, for everyone to hear, and this goes to Beryl, could one of y'all read that second paragraph that came from their statesman?
Yeah, right in front of you there.
Okay, is that okay? Basically, the letter says to Jack and Jacqueline, about the meeting last meeting. Thank you for your public input on this project. I want to reach out after discussing this with Todd. The owner would like to continue to use the site for construction staging and stockpiling while also having the ability to utilize this parcel for a concrete batch plant / asphalt plant in the future. This is from their email. Their spokesperson, or I don't know if he's a lawyer or what, Wayne Richardson was here last year, or last week.
Again,
or asphalt.
that's, thank you, that was what was passed, but you can state that, I guess. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Go ahead.
Good evening. My name's Frank Gentili. My wife and I live at 40 Lane 890 Snow Lake. We've been Lakers for 20 years. We have recently retired, and Fremont is going to be the place that we chose to retire to. So after building a brand new home 3 years ago and then starting to find out things like this, it's like, did I spend my money wisely or should I have moved on? But that ship has sailed. First of all, once again, thank you all for listening, taking the time. And for the people that have already spoke, I had the opportunity to go to the meeting with the sewer district, which was a complete disaster. This has been a group of people that have come prepared, educated, know the topic well. So it's good that we have a community that's supporting that, okay? Everybody's talking about the impact environmentally, the social stuff and that. Now that I've heard a few things from the owners, I guess I'm wondering what's in it for Angola? If you're worried about you lose your lease and you're just going to pick it up and you're going to move it 500 yards and you're already trucking in 85% of your materials anyways, truck them somewhere else. All right. Pick it up and move it somewhere else. And number two, are you creating any new jobs? It sounds like you're just moving from point A to point B. So it's not like we're creating 100 jobs, right? I read an article today. I think Steuben County and Angola are at 2% unemployment. So even if you told me you're creating 100 jobs, I don't know where you'd get those people because the 200 businesses are already here. They don't have enough people to do their work, right? So from an economic standpoint, this doesn't make any sense to me at all. When you put on the impact on the community, when you put the impact on the environment, right? Business owners that have been here for 26 years being highly impacted for somebody who hasn't.
you know, I'm gonna say to this group right here, you going forward and advising our council people that this is good, that's the problem. Okay? This should never get to them as it's a good idea, all right? Because when it gets to them as a good idea and you're the voice of reason to them, you're the guidance, they can say, well, you know, they guided us and said this was a good idea and we just voted for it. They're probably not going to do the due diligence, all right? So, you know, I'm against it, just like everybody was against putting the hog farm down the road, what, 10 years ago or whatever it was? Somebody stepped in and, you know, bought the property so that wouldn't happen, right? I'm sure the people up in Jonesville just love that hog plant now, right? Yeah, it created a few jobs, but I worked in the food industry, kill plants, rendering, whoever mentioned it earlier. This is not a place we want to go. And to your point, sir, you're driving, this is the main access into Angola. If you're coming off the turnpike or 69 from the north and you're coming to the lake for the first time, or you're a regular, this is what you want to drive past to come to downtown Angola? Thank you for your time.
My name's Kim Stankiewicz. I live at 3587 North 20 East, Angola, Indiana. My wife and I moved here about 10 years ago for work, and decided to make it our home. We weren't gonna stay long, but we fell in love with the community, we fell in love with the people, and we wanted to stay here. We started our family. I do have some questions though. I took some notes while we were talking. Most of the stuff has already been covered. So when we talk, I know we're not talking about the zoning, but if they went back and decided to ask for an amendment, does that get public notice? Do we get letters out to the 9 people that we did before? Is that how it works?
All 9.
And it wasn't, but I'm not, that's not a jab at you guys. You guys are following the policy. Policy is within 300 feet. That 300 feet was 9 people. I mean, is there anything we can do better to notify more people when stuff like this comes up?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Indiana code says 300 feet or adjacent property owners. We do the one that causes more. As a city, most cities use the adjacent property owners. Additionally, it goes in the paper. This is required by Indiana code.
Yeah.
So there's nothing else that the city is required to do. We do this for every meeting, every case, whatever it is. So I encourage everyone to be more aware of what's going on, but that is what we are legally required to do. Additionally, we post our agendas, our meeting minutes, the cases, all on our website. Within the papers here, we have to send agendas within 2 business days. No holidays, no weekends count. And that's what we do. So again, get involved. We love that so many people are, want to speak on this, but we encourage that involvement all the time.
So we wish we saw it.
So I
30 days, and we're doing the best we can in the rules that we're given.
And I apologize, I'm not trying to tell
And
you
being
guys in
fair
any
to
shape or
both
form.
sides.
But my question was, if they file an amendment, how does that notification go out?
It's the same thing. So as I stated in my staff report, it's twofold. Because I'm requiring it on the plat would have to be amended. A plat amendment is a public hearing with this board. So again, 300 feet, and maybe that changes in the state code by then, and that's what we change with. And in the paper. Additionally, because it's a requirement of the rezone, it has to go to city council as well. So again, another notice the same way.
Okay.
Okay?
So then, my next question is, as far as the comprehensive plan for the growth of Angola, I know we talked about splitting off lot 1, and this has to do with the split of the plot. Being zoned as C2 is from what I heard, and we have businesses up front. To the north of that drive is all swamp. I drive by it every day. So looking at that 6.3 acres, maybe 1/3 of it is buildable. So you're looking at 1.5 acres to C2. How is that really helpful for the growth of our community? I mean, it's just a small little lot. It's the 36 acres is what everybody's concerned about.
That's actually a comment that's germane to what we're discussing here.
Yeah. Do you want to pull up that staff report from last time? So at the last meeting, so that was one of my concerns as a staff member, is because that's not the main purpose of this applicant, we wanted to make sure what was left over was buildable. So we put together a diagram showing it's a very buildable lot, even taking away setbacks, staying out of the wetland or wet area. So that lot would be able to hold a C2 with all setbacks, parking that would be required.
So not the whole 4.6 acres, just the.
Yeah, what's buildable.
Right.
So taking away the setbacks, take away the wet area. That
is.
I think we put it on this diagram. Sorry, it was over a month ago.
No problem.
There you go. So this is on 20. The red area is that whole area of lot 1. So you can see, cut it in half. You see 2 properties easily fit in there. At least one would. So that gives you an idea about building sizes, what parking would be required, what could fit into lot 1.
Oh, so that's an overlay of a different area.
Yep.
Okay. But it doesn't show the swamp, basically.
So, take away half of it, or even as you say, 2/3, which I disagree with. But okay, say 1/3. So 1/3 you could still build on there if you're looking at those different buildings. So this is front of on US 20, where there's a current batch. So just to, I guess, the way you guys looking at it, your left or your right is where like Timbers is at. Give you some sort of idea what might be in front of it.
Okay. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, but I think everybody's really concerned as the previous meeting, so we've already discussed that, but I appreciate you guys' time and thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jim Byrne. I'm at 229 Broadmoor Circle. And my daughter brought this to my attention today. And so I'm coming into this blind, but I think it's a good meeting. I guess my question is have we got by without converting something over to a plant like that? Or are we doing it just for the sake that they want to do it? Understand what my question is? Are we looking at the interest of the public and the community, or are we proposing this just because they want to convert it over? And from what I am just hearing tonight is that if you convert that over, then kind of like what this gentleman was saying, is that down the road, you're opening the door to, basically 30 years from now or whatever, different possibilities that can be detrimental. You got wellheads out there that could be affected. And I don't know, a general consensus is everybody that's for it, raise their hand, and everybody that's, anybody for it? Who's all against it? Raise your hand. All I gotta say.
Thank you.
Jim, what was your last name?
Burn.
Byrne. Did you sign in?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I'll find it.
Yep.
Any other comments?
Hi, my name is Christina Stankowitz, and I live at 3587 North 20 East. I've done a lot of the social media and notifying our residents about what's going on, and the email that did come out to the Mitchells. I think it's important that everybody does know and is given the same opportunity and being able to be involved at the same playing field. I went and saw Brett on Friday and spoke with him, and it keeps being said that the city is non-biased. When I spoke with Brett, Retha came in at some point and reiterated when I spoke to him on the phone also on Thursday, they're not biased, city officials are not biased, they're not able to vote, we're just here to state the facts. The thing that I found curious though, is that during that conversation, Brett told me that Friday morning, he called Todd to notify him of the community involvement and concern with the parcel being split, with the rezoning, and he wanted him to be able to prepare. So a personal phone call was given to Todd so he could bring in someone else and be able to have all weekend to, maybe get his things together, make his case, whatever the fact may be. On the way out, Retha told me, as she walked me out, everybody cares when it's in their backyard, but nobody cares if it's 5 miles down the road. To me, that doesn't seem non-biased. It seems to me that in the city, the elected officials sitting do have some bias. They're making phone calls to notify Todd to come in.
Not elected official.
There's only one elected official in the room.
I'll speak to Brett then.
That's a city employee.
City employee. He keeps telling me he's not allowed to vote and that he has no bias. He is there to state the facts. I think it's curious.
I was told not to come to this meeting too.
Well, you were multiple times, yeah.
I'm not gonna
Was that
go on
common?
We can
Thank you.
stay above that. Again, I can speak for myself. I'm a lifelong resident. My father's a lifelong resident. I care deeply about this town and what happens here. And it's, I wouldn't do this and put myself through this if I didn't care. And I think most of these people on this board share that feeling, and we're trying our best and we'll do the best here. If we make mistakes, sure, maybe we did, okay? But this is still what this is about, and the chips fall is great, but to point names or I just don't want to do that. Just my opinion. Anyone else?
Is it open? Hi. Coming in from the back. Mel Garman. I live on 180 West, 300 North. I'm local, been in this area forever. I homeschool my kids. We're outside all the time. That's where we live. Last year, at the end of the year, midsummer, our assignment was I was doing outdoor reading. All my children counted vehicles. So we counted white vehicles, concrete cut trucks, because they go down the road all the time, and red cars. Okay. In that 1 hour, there's 32 cement trucks that went back and forth in front of our house in 1 hour. So in an 8-hour day, that's 250 trucks that are gonna pull in and out of there. Maybe it was a busy day, maybe it was a slow day. I don't know that. We usually spend all of our time on the outside of our house, but in that 1 hour of time, 32 trucks passed on our road. So if you want that in front of Scoops, you want that in our community, and that beginning of Angola, where all I see are all the campers coming to town, stock their fridges, stock their coolers, and they're going back out to the park. All that traffic is just going to add. So that's where my family, we stand against. Like, that area is already, we're used to it now. We've been there for a while, but adding that to the road where we just spent a ton of money on that walkway out to the park, it's just gonna take away from it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ken Shelton. I live at 1341 East Maumee Street in the ETJ. And for full transparency, I am the commissioner for the Middle District. But I am not here to speak for the commissioners. I'm here speaking on my behalf. And I want to, like everyone else has said, that how much they appreciate your sacrifice. I'm familiar with the sacrifices that you all make. not going to take a lot of time. I think one of the most important things that you shared this evening was explaining the importance of being at the meeting on July the 17th and the process that is involved. I understand we live by the processes and we have to do the best we can. I know that that was done at the previous meeting under the circumstances and the information that you had at that time. I will tell you that I look forward to being at the meeting on July the 17th and expressing that I am not in favor of this change in zoning and the process that occurred on the previous date and the decision that was made. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. Keep up the good work.
Anyone else?
Just one last thing. I think based on what this gentleman said, the importance of next Monday, I think whoever schedules and plans this event, to hold it anywhere in a place like this would be complete disrespect to the citizens of this community. You need to provide a space large enough with adequate hearing for everyone.
I agree with that. There's a couple of problems. We have to have enough lead time. If you change the meeting site,
Understand?
fair to everybody.
Oh, I
Give
understand.
them time.
And I do want to put on record, no one made that request. Absolutely no one.
I mean, we'll
And
do
can
that,
we-
but what is the?
Consider it May.
Can we get your name for the record, sir, for the audio?
Continually.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, I think it's an excellent idea. You just got to make sure you get.
No, I understand. I don't know what protocol you need to follow.
I don't
The rules
know
are,
if
once
the week
again,
is good
but
enough or not.
in fairness to what's going on here, all right? And at least, regardless of the outcome, at least the people get to walk out knowing they had a chance to be heard. Nobody can hear this back there, so.
I can hear them back.
Well, I know you can, and
I can hear it.
I think if there's a possibility to change a venue, that should happen.
Agreed. If that's so legally possible to do for fairness, yes.
If I was sitting in your spot, I would want it because if I'm sitting in your chair, it's like there's 300 people within 5 feet of me.
I just want to make sure it can be done properly.
Understand.
Anyone else?
Let me make that announcement back there.
Anyone else want to speak on the case? Yeah. Anyone down here? No? Here? Jamie Wolf. I live at 130 East, 400 North. I have been on that property for 5 generations now. We've seen a lot of changes. I'm not going to discuss what may happen. What you guys want to know today is about dividing that property. I think all of you know that that is just the first step in changing everything out there. So although you've done everything that you can, you voted last week, things are going to city council. You guys hold the power right now to stop them in their tracks. We've all gotten used to living with the concrete dumping. It's been there for a couple of decades now. We just don't want it to change anymore. How it ever got there in the first place, being zoned agricultural,
Yes,
the word grandfathered in, we all know is a term that needs to go away. It needs to be in black and white. It shouldn't be there in the first place. So stop them from doing anything more. That's all we're asking. I really believe we're just asking you to stop it from getting any worse. Leave it where it is. It's a profitable business. We don't want to stop profitable business. That's fine, make your profit. But that doesn't mean you need to keep growing.
and making more profits and infringing on the residential area out there. When you come off of 69, you want to see green trees. You want to see that $1 million bike path. You don't want to see dump trucks and asphalt plants and dust in the air. So you guys hold the power. Just stop it where it's at. Don't do the division, because the division's just the next step in them getting that portion as high impact. That's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we will close that portion of the meeting. I reminded myself what we do next. Does the applicant want a short rebuttal? Please hold it to short comments. If not, that is your prerogative.
My name's Matt Birch again. I guess just two clarifications in hearing everyone speak tonight. The benefit to Angola is to have a second concrete plant. As the town continues to grow, it's kind of important. It's also important to offer competition to keep the prices in check. So that would be the economic benefit. The second thing I wanted to discuss was about the email that Wayne Richardson, he's one of my business partners, he was at the last meeting and he sent out. And in that email, he did discuss the possibility of a asphalt plant, but we heard you guys that that's not what you wanted. So that's why the note is on the plat. That's why we've been in very close contact with the planning department. And we want to restrict it to just the concrete plant, not asphalt. We don't want either.
Thank you. Okay, we will close the public portion of the meeting. Does anyone on the board have questions for planning staff, city employees?
I have a question. Maybe just more discussion based. So we talked about the plat and the plat needing for signatures to be on the primary plat, that it'll take common council's approval of rezoning. Otherwise, the plat has to be amended based on what's presented here. I guess I'd like to have the conversation on this board tabling that until common council makes that decision. Because if we approve it and they deny it or have something different, it's got to come back and be modified, if I understand that correctly.
Or if we disapprove it.
Or if we disapprove it, then
They
it's,
said that it was before pending on the first reading of the approval.
correct, yeah, I mean.
I thought about that coming in, Amanda. I didn't know if that would be, I mean, obviously, we're giving an opportunity to everybody speak and push that, but I guess I'd have to hear from Kim or Jennifer on that to see if that's a proper thing to do, so that we know where they stand on that zone.
It seems like all of the comments we hear, all concerns, but they're concerns with the rezoning, not necessarily with the plat. And so it almost seems like they want to know.
If that is legally acceptable to do so.
That would be legally acceptable. One of the things I would also do is give this board a little more time to absorb everything, as well as the council.
The council.
To get some investigation.
Because I think there's probably still some things they're going to learn about this.
Correct.
So with that said,
Jennifer, we're able to do that, is that correct?
Yeah.
As Kim
Kim
said?
said it's legally acceptable.
I think that's the prudent thing to do.
I move that we table Ray's proposal until next month's meeting.
That's a first reading for them. Did that take 3 readings?
Yeah.
Yes, it would.
The plat agreement.
Would those readings be done all in the same meeting or?
I have a feeling it will not be done on the same.
You can, no, you can't do all three in one.
Okay, so then we would have to wait beyond the third reading, is what, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we would be advised to read up to, I would think that would be the right thing to do. That's the way I would say it.
Unless, yes.
So the board needs to make a decision on if we table it, when that date is, or instructs that the applicant and staff resend notices. Either way is acceptable.
I would make the motion that we send notices based on the finality of the third meeting, if I was gonna make the motion. I'll make it. We make, if I make the motion that we table this issue and send out notifications post the third reading of the city council on this issue.
Mr. President, that should come from a member, not.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But I propose that we table this until after the third reading, city council to revisit it.
Okay, we have the motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Right here.
Burl seconds. All those in favor with that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, that motion is passed and those notices will be made. And obviously, the date for the city council meeting are before you.
Did anyone abstain from the vote?
Oh,
Everyone
I'm
was
sorry.
in-
Was there an abstain on there? But we still have a quorum.
Yep.
Perhaps
Yeah.
interested parties can also send their contact information if they also wish to be. Any other interested party other than what's required, if you contact Jennifer, I'm sure she would be sure to send out a notice as well.
I believe the abstaining also is for maybe a family member close to the business is the only reason for that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you and appreciate, again, excellent and appreciate everybody who's taken their time and thoughts. Thank you.
I just ask that everyone please exit quietly. If you want to stick around, you can, but we do need to finish our meeting. I will answer all those questions.
I'd like to talk to you.
And let me finish the or explain. The British All right, everyone, if we could be quiet while we finish the meeting, please.
Okay, let's continue on. Is there an address report for the city?
There's not.
There's no other business. Any reports of officers or members? Report of attorney, staff? No report. I made I was told I can't make the motions, and I probably shouldn't. Take a motion for adjourn?
There will be a next meeting on the 24th.
Yes, there will.
And it will be my fifth.
Stop, Josh.
Okay, there's make a motion to adjourn?
I will make a motion.
Steve will second. All those in favor of adjourn? Yes. Aye. Those in favor? Get it? Go home. Thank you all.
Thank you. Allowed to sign.
Hold on, let me grab those papers.